All right, folks, look, it's 7 minutes after, 6 minutes after, so, I guess we ought to start. I'll read this little blurb that says why we're considered, no matter how many people we have here today, it's considered a quorum. It's a general membership meeting rules from the state of Maryland. It says all meetings will be conducted according to Maryland Code Corporations and Associations, Title 5, Subtitle 2, Section Paragraph 5-206.1, which states, if the number of members present at a meeting does not meet the requirements of a quorum, which was the September meeting, those present may call another meeting to meet quorum requirements. At the additional meeting, the members present in person constitute a quorum. That is today. So therefore, we are a quorum, regardless of how few or how many of us there are here. All right, so first order of business is the approval of the minutes from the June general membership meeting, because we couldn't approve it in September, and as we had no meeting in September, there are no September minutes. So I hope you've all taken a minute and read the June minutes. If not, we can wait while people speed read.
I do put the draft on the website. I mean, so before something to do.
Looks like the last pages have been flipped about everywhere. Do I have a nomination to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Well, it looks like it's unanimous. The minutes are approved. Thank you very much. President's remarks. Well, if I thought it was cold when I wrote that little note on what was it, the newsletter, the winter newsletter, it was certainly cold today. But one of the things that in fact, I think it was the only thing I talked about in my little blurb, was what's happening with prices and what effect it's going to have on us. The fact is that our biggest expenses are usually property maintenance, storm drainage, things like that. And all of those costs are going to go up. Even paving materials. While the cost of petroleum itself may come down, the cost of producing road paving materials and the cost of labor is going to go up. It's gone up every year, and next year it's probably going to go up more. I say that just to alert everybody to start thinking about the fact that some of our fees will go up next year after the finance committee gets together and figures out exactly what our budget's gonna be and what we think costs are gonna be. But costs are going to go up. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. And I urge you to get ready for it. In fact, I urge everybody who's at all interested to let Rhea know that you're willing to sit and serve on the finance committee. That's how to find out exactly. It's a thrill a minute, let me tell you. But it's exactly how to find out how much it's really going to cost and why costs are going up, and estimates. And that's really all I have to say. Is, you know, next year is going to be a little more expensive than the previous years, and that's all we can do about it. And in fact, this year is turning out already to cost us maybe more money, because we've already had a snow, and it looks like we're going to have another one tomorrow. And for the last couple of years, we had no snow.
Well, last year we doubled our budget. I mean, our cost was 90-some thousand, and we had budgeted 30-something.
Yeah, well,
In
last year.
January, we had.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And this year it may hurt us again. So that's another thing that, you know, we may just have to budget more next year. I mean, I don't know how you predict. Come to the finance meeting.
But even something like salt, that was gone up
That's right.
extraordinarily.
So Tony, if I can interject, pre-salting that we had done on the 5th of December, we just did the intersections and the hills because it wasn't going to be a major event. And we spent $4,930 just on that. So in years past, if we do the entire community, I think it's around 16,000, give or take. So it's not cheap.
And if the weather
And that's
continues
no
this,
plowing.
yeah, if the weather continues this year the way it started, we're gonna end up with a nice substantial snow removal and road treatment bill. But anyway, I urge you all to,
Excuse me, when could we raise fees to cover some of that? What is the timing on that?
Well,
That's
it's
the
kind of
budget, right?
it's kind of complicated. We're doing the budget now. The draft is sort of being worked on. I'll send it to you now. So it's a little complicated in that we bill ahead of the fiscal year. So when I send bills out at the end of January, first part of February, I really need to have that increase in there if we want it for the next fiscal year. So the board will, the finance committee will work on the budget, present it to the board will discuss it, and it will be approved or not. And if approved, then, I will send out the statements. And then in June, the community, the membership that comes, votes to approve or not the budget. But yet, it's complicated. I don't know how to work it otherwise. Because you don't know from year to year what costs, like Tony said, snow is one thing, but when insurance goes from 6,000 to 18,000, that was a shock. So we shopped it around and got it back down to 11 with a different company. Those are round numbers. But how do you expect that? That's not like a 5% increase.
yeah.
So it's very difficult to know.
It's, in some ways, it's really funny. It's like, the budget gets presented to the board closes its eyes, and takes a guess, and says, okay, we think it's gonna do that. Then we put it to the membership, then the membership takes a guess. Okay, we'll approve that. And then we just hope that nothing goes wrong and that we stay within those numbers for the year. Lately, it hasn't been working that way in some areas. It's just more
We had a
expensive.
reserve that we were digging into.
Pardon?
We had a reserve we were digging into to cover it.
We're not the reserve, but we've got carryover funds like you and I talked
You're right, you
about
have-
yesterday. And those are, because we did we had the cost increases, but we also did the jetty. And we had budgeted for it, but
Right.
in using carryover funds to help, So now we're to the point where there's not a big buffer. And I don't know
So
if
that
we'll
has to
talk
be
about that.
determined. The board will probably come up with an idea of what kind of a buffer they want
Right,
to cover us for the next, okay.
exactly.
Okay.
And we'll be going for the next special tax district too.
What's that up, so?
We'll be applying for the next special tax
Yeah.
district and start getting that ready, like come spring, we'll start hearing for the following, like fiscal year '28. is, when we need to have it for. So my thought was, if these fees increase, we could maybe decrease the special tax district, maybe not by a like amount, but some, because that goes.
Very optimistic. I don't.
Well, it was just a thought that maybe,
Now you're
You don't want
watching
to, what you're saying is you really don't want to do what you might have to do,
yeah,
or what you will have to do.
because people are gonna be quite upset, I'm sure. And it won't matter how much we put out in the newsletter.
I know.
These fees, this mandatory assessment went into effect in 2014. And the board had meetings, it was in the newsletter, there were emails that went out, and they haven't been increased since, that's 11 years. And people would come in my office quite upset. And one man, I think, put a letter to the editor, and on and on and on. And when they would come in, I'd say, well, sir, did you read the newsletter? And he'd say, no. Well, I don't know what else we can do as an associate, as a board, and whatever. So, you do the best you can, and you try to make sure you're backed up with all your facts and notifications.
And those other people are gonna be willing to help out in the future, right?
Well, and I did suggest that to one
Yeah,
person
okay.
who was not happy with my message with the Salting. I said, oh, by the way, there's a position opening on the board. I mean, I don't think people realize, unless they've served on a board, maybe here or someplace else, how difficult it can be to manage this.
May I say something to you about the finance committee? It's usually one very long afternoon in February, usually, and you go through line by line, every single item. So it's a very comprehensive and a good, but that's a good place if you want to dedicate an afternoon. You'll really
It's,
want to.
I've been on, they're never contentious, it's just
No, it's
really
not-
very, very
but it's very-
friendly, we work through it, and everybody
But
that's
everybody,
represented.
we understand what we have to, we
Yeah.
come to some understanding.
What they're leaving out is we have Madam Fifi coming with the crystal ball and the tarot cards.
Yeah, give us the numbers, yeah.
But it's well worth an afternoon if you're willing to spend the time.
Any questions on that sort of elongated remarks section?
Actually, I do have a question. I ran into a similar situation on an HOA board from previous. We had an unexpected cost, but we were allowed to do a one-time assessment.
Was it a condo association?
No.
Oh. So I thought about that on the way in this morning, thinking about all of this, and I wondered, are we allowed to do a special assessment? Condos can, I know. So I didn't know if we could do that.
Or like with the insurance when it goes.
Right, exactly.
Like that's how,
Yeah, I think,
because it doesn't increase your baseline annual fee.
right, but I think one of the major issues with that would be the people getting them to pay it. Like, I'm gonna come to you and you're gonna pay it because you're a good, well, everybody's a good resident, good property owner, but a lot of people can't afford something like that. And it would have to be across the board, and it would have to be for a specific expense. You can't just say, oh,
And
Well, like snow plowing or insurance, those are two.
well, but insurance is a continuing expense, it's not gonna go down every year.
And snow plowing is too.
But
If you
snow
don't know,
plowing
well, you
goes
don't
up and
know.
down.
But there'll always be something.
Yeah, but if you have
It's
something
a polar
a really
vortex.
expensive
Yeah.
year, then maybe, but,
Snowmageddon hits again.
yeah.
You try to plan those kind of, like, maintenance and stuff like that, you try to plan a contingency is nothing there to handle, a semi-worst case. Usually something like an assessment would be for some kind of one-time major,
like the jetty that we put out.
yeah, but even that, we covered that with,
I know.
covered that out of special tax.
Yeah,
We
but I'm just
budgeted
saying.
that. But if we had, let's say, some major storm damage that wasn't covered by FEMA and other sources, and it affected the whole community, we could propose an assessment, like Rita said, it's kind of your last ditch. It's more common in a condo association, where you've got common buildings, you have an assessment if you have to replace the roofs. And I will say also, special tax district. The last time, was 5 years ago, we were planning on doing the beach work. So we put a wedge in the special tax district proposal, which was approved by the county commissioners, to put a wedge in there to raise money for that beach project, because it affected the whole community. Now, we're done with that. That may give us some relief.
A little bit to reduce the
We'll
tax
have
district.
we'll have to see how that all works
Yeah,
out.
yeah. It wasn't a tremendous amount more than we'd have asked for anyway. I think, I want to say just $10 more per property. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but at this point,
I'm just
the
saying.
increased costs may wipe that in.
Oh, maybe.
Anything else on that? And then we'll move along to something else where we can start a discussion. Instead of a committee's reports or committee reports, let's just go right down the table and see who has anything to say about what. Alan?
I have nothing to report, just want to thank everyone for coming out this morning.
Anything to report?
I have nothing really new with the report, but I will be going out and looking at some of the tragedies, what things look like. We didn't have to have a grade this year, thank goodness, but we probably will next year.
I have nothing.
I've already said, about the cost of the Sultan. And I guess we also already know that statements will be going out at the end of February, or early February, for fees for 2027, which already said as well. That's it.
Any questions? Oh,
Yeah, I do have, normally we would have a treasurer's report sometimes, but just looking at the profit and loss statement we have, raises a question to me under expenses under the maintenance right of way,
Yes.
how we have negative expenses.
Yes.
You might want to explain that.
There are negative numbers there because we have a contractor who apparently doesn't need money. And, nice. And so it's Carl Bone, tree removal. He's great, I love him, and his son is great too. But anyway, we had contracted with him to do what we call a 3-year cutback at a cost of $28,000 total. So he's been paid half of that, and I wanted, it's supposed to be budgeted, and the fiscal year was ending last year. So I went ahead and, knowing that a good bit of it had been done, additional, I sent him a check for $8,000 by the end of the last fiscal year. Well, in July or August, the new fiscal year, the bank canceled it. Carl never cashed it. Now, in Carl's defense, he's had a few medical issues and so on, and his son is, so what that does is put a negative, that's how QuickBooks does it, and I'm not an accountant, Mike, but that's what QuickBooks had me do. So that cost had been spread out between a couple of different line items, I think 3. And so those line items went into negative numbers. So then if I pay something else on it, it brings the negative closer to 0, but it's still a negative number.
It's only that time frame, July to November. I'm looking at
Well,
this.
yes,
And then when you say budget, you're talking the annual budget.
yes.
So these are,
This is for the current fiscal year.
they're not accruals in here? I mean,
I'm sorry?
you have July through November. What's the fiscal year?
July through June. But this is as of the end of last
Okay,
month.
so that's why it's the beginning. Never mind.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That, I think, allows time, Mike, you had me start doing it that way, doing it to the end of the last month. So it kind of allows for a little room to, oops, that's a mistake, or room to make changes, or what have you. So, yeah, but that's why there are negative numbers there. And just back to Carl, his son Nicholas, maybe some of you have dealt with Nicholas, is gradually taking over for Carl. And they're putting it actually into software. Nicholas's wife is going to be handling the books. So I've gotten a couple of invoices. I was thrilled. So I think it will get a little better from Bowman's.
Any other questions or comments? Unfinished business. either am I having some sort of memory lapse or something? Is anybody aware of anyone in the business? No? New business. Anybody have some new business they would like to bring up?
Well, I don't know if it's that, or anybody, I heard if we had in Drum Point or anywhere, if you have any legal issues that went to the county lawyer, there's no county lawyer. So everything is delayed.
What happened to the county lawyer?
I think the guy or girl, I'm not sure who it was, retired, quit, found a better job,
Yeah,
and they haven't been able to replace the person. As of last week, this is what I heard.
he moved to some other position somewhere else.
Not in the county.
I guess they haven't built it.
Okay. Oh, that's good to know, thanks. So, yeah, I'm thinking,
So things
Issues,
are gonna be
yeah.
a little backed up there too, so.
Haven't seen anything about it.
Not yet.
I have a question or something that gives us to think about. I spoke with Rhea earlier, and it's something that way back in the early days of the charter and the bylaws, I don't believe anyone envisioned parking on property of large vans, commercial vehicles, boats with trailers, yada, yada, on, et cetera. Where do we draw the line? Some property, that's what I'm getting at, and this happens all over. We have a property on Delmarva Peninsula down by Chincoteague Bay, Captain's Cove is called. Same thing there. They, and the charter goes way back to the, 60s, I think, and they didn't envision all they're eyesores. They devalue property. Where do you draw the line? And I know there's no answer for that here, but could we possibly have a study that may alter the bylaws for future consideration?
it would be the covenants.
It would, yeah, the covenants that would have to be changed. And we have been told that it is possible to change covenants. It's a complicated process, but it is possible. But on the other hand, what exactly are we going to try to fix? People have boats parked in their driveways. I know at least one house that has put up at least I don't want to call it a shed, but a carport just for the boat. We're a waterfront community. What do we tell people they can't have their boat as long as it's on their property?
I came from a community that had other covenants, and the inequity was just, it was so blatant. A nice, neat, covered, maintained boat was not allowed. But a trailer full of trash sitting there for a year wasn't a problem. Motorhomes were not a problem. It's like, how do you pick and choose
Right.
what's
And how do you enforce it?
What's the ice, how do you define an eyesore?
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, and I was going to point that out, and it's like, what do you, if somebody has truly a recreational vehicle, it's like a big bus with a driver and everything, is that allowed as opposed to one that's trailered? Is that not allowed? And is a big one allowed and a small one not allowed, or vice versa?
And who's going to enforce that?
Yeah.
The county will not enforce our covenants.
Yeah.
Now, we can turn, I can report certain things that go on, like an accumulation of trash, I think is how the restriction is written in the county code. But my idea and your idea of an accumulation of trash is certainly different than what zoning enforcement is. I mean, and I think too, they only have so much power of enforcement. They're understaffed a bit, and so on. And then the county attorney resigns, so it's like, because eventually you get to the county attorney's office.
The community I came from, it was even worse. The HOA could not or did not, I'm not sure which, pursue any. It was all complaint driven.
Yeah.
So Joe could have one in his yard for years, but Sam, who didn't like his next door neighbor, was not liked by his next door neighbor, he couldn't, I had to go to my driveway for 2 days and I got a notice.
I mean, is it a commercial vehicle or things like that that aren't, personal property? That may be a line? I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure, I think state or maybe federal law restricts you from, like, you can't restrict somebody's job vehicle. Like if they have a truck, because they work for Grover's Landscape, they park it in their driveway. I don't think we can restrict that.
You can't, Bowie does, the town of Bowie
Who
does.
does?
Bowie does, and the way people deal with it, and it is so stupid, you show up with your vehicle, your work vehicle, you park it, you get out, you stick magnetic
Oh.
plates over the
All the
labeling,
time.
and then it's legal.
That's right, yeah.
It
There you
just-
go.
I've lived with that before.
And I think too, the size of our community makes it difficult. I manage a very small community, it's an HOA on Dow Road, the Harbors. And they have architectural rules, and all of those people are so neat about their, their houses and their lawns and so on. And believe me, if somebody has a tree that's dying, you gotta get that tree taken care of, and they do it. But there's 54 houses in that little tiny community. That's pretty simple versus 1,200 property owners, about 1,000 houses, a little under 1,000, 9/6. That's a little different. I mean, when you say eyesore, I could direct you down some streets where you'll see some eyesores.
Yeah, don't worry about the parked cars.
Yeah.
The junk on the lawn, the junk in the carport.
Yes.
That's-
And there's nothing we can do. There's one house that has a carport, and it's just filled with stuff. I think maybe they're hoarders, I don't know. And I reported it to county zoning enforcement, thinking, isn't that an unlawful accumulation of trash? Because it's in the carport, that's within the structure of the house, and they have no ability to control that. If it were strewn all over the yard, yes.
Some of these things are egregious, I think. I agree with the gentleman in the back. But I think on Delaware Drive, or Delaware, what is it, Drive, Lane, Delaware Lane, whatever, there's a large commercial, I call it taco truck or
Oh, I
something.
know where it is. I know
They
exactly.
just plugged in and have propane going to electricity.
That's our neighbor.
It's heated and air conditioned. And it's a huge eyesore, but it's parked at a dead end street.
Oh, I know. They have a little
And
circle.
like, don't the neighbors get in uproar or something? And
So that's always been my example of law enforcement.
We are their next door neighbors.
And
Yeah, for a while he was parking it somewhere else.
he was. A number of years ago,
Yeah.
the mail carrier
Right.
could not get in there.
Right.
And at the same time, there was construction going on across the street, across the circle.
Yeah, that was us.
Shame on you.
Yeah.
So it was even more difficult. So at that time, you guys all had to bring your mailboxes out to Delaware. They're on Holland. Okay, so let's search.
Hollywood.
And I think that helped and so on. But at the same time, I reported to the sheriff's office because there was so much blocking by his big rig
Yeah.
that an ambulance, really,
Yeah.
that would be the major issue.
Yeah.
One thing, I can't deliver the mail, but an ambulance or a fire truck or what have you couldn't really get in there. And I know some of you have heard this story, but, so the sheriff's deputy came out and issued him out a warning. And the guy moved it, I think, up into his yard somehow, a driveway, pulled it up in, I'm not sure, but he got it out of the street. And the sheriff's deputy came back by my office and he said, if he does it again, let me know and I will write him a ticket. Okay. 2 weeks later, I don't know, a period of time later, I called the sheriff's office. He was back out in the cul-de-sac. And as it happened, the same deputy responded. You wouldn't write him a ticket. But you said you would. I mean, I don't know how to address that either. So it's difficult. For a long time, the deputies said, well, those are private roads, we can't write tickets. So if I murder somebody, I'm okay. 'Cause this is a
Do it on that
private
private road.
So, I mean, they've gotten better, they have gotten better. And you're not supposed to block traffic and all of that, but it's difficult to get them to actually be able to do anything. And as far as enforcing our covenants, they will not do it. And I don't know how we can do it, if we were able to get a change made.
it's tough.
Yeah,
But
impossible.
we're all affected because of property values.
I agree. I
You know,
agree.
it's eyesores, you know, and I had the privilege and whatever circumstance to live in the Hamptons of Long Island. I lived 25 years. I lived and worked there. I was in construction. I built McMansions, you know, for the rich and famous. In any event, they don't have this stuff. They got on this big time years ago to homeowners association,
But their covenants address it.
preservations of the historic districts and so forth. And you don't see all the stuff we see here and many other places, so I don't know the answers either, whether you have to have a study to possibly alter the bylaws or have addendums and, you know, whatever. It's gonna be, whatever the word is, a nasty word.
So there's been a couple of people over the years that have suggested they would like to help spearhead a movement or what have you, an attempt to change the covenants for that very reason. Twice in recent times that I can think of. And, okay, so let's get a committee together and, okay, they're gonna do that, and then they never show up to actually do that. And when I first began, many, many years ago, we attempted to change the covenants, and at the time, it was thought that all property owners would get a ballot, whether you were a member of good standing or whether you were not. So we sent 1,300 or so, I don't know how many, ballots out. And the covenants do read, well, it was, again, always been interpreted to me, if you don't return your ballot, it is an automatic no vote. So, okay. The attorney that we have now, Amber Bryant, with Pickett Law, said, well, really the only people that should get the ballots are those that are paid up on their fees, members of good standing. And that does make sense, I think. But, so say we send, there's almost 1,000 members of good standing, I think, right now. By the end of the fiscal year, that's about what it is. So if you interpret it to mean that a ballot not returned is a no vote, let's say there's 1,000 go out, we have to have 501 returned, and they have to say yes. And we did that years ago. We sent a survey out as far as maybe people could park, take one of our empty lots and use it for, fence it in, use it for people to park their big boats and campers and such. And that, nobody wanted anything like that. And they complained that it was the people who have money who want that, because they're the ones that can afford the boats and so on. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to it.
I was just gonna comment, but you kind of touched on it. My son and daughter-in-law lived in a waterfront community in Pasadena, and it was a townhouse community, but they did have a separate parking area that was, you know, and we do have like the mobile, you know, that area that's fenced in where the mobile.
Oh, that doesn't belong to us,
Oh,
but yeah.
because I'm thinking an area like that, it could be made to park your boats or park your commercial vehicles, and it's not anybody's, it's in one spot, it is an eyesore in a sense, but.
Unless it's right next to your house.
Yeah,
Then-
true, yeah.
You know how that goes.
Yeah. But it's just a thought, because I know there are vacant properties, right? Some are owned by,
Yes. By the
Drum Point,
association.
yeah, the Point, and some are, you know, so it's, maybe that's the solution.
Well, maybe we should attempt something like that. I don't know. But then there's liability.
Other people will find it a
liability and an eyesore. But a
Their
liability
property
for
value.
sure.
But also protected, because if you have it fenced in, right, it's better protected than if it's in your yard, right? If it's in your yard and anybody can come up and,
It would have to be not so secluded that you couldn't see it, or you'd have to be
Yeah, right.
a chain link fence wouldn't do it, it'd still be an eyesore.
Yeah.
So how would
Well,
you
but-
give access to the
Yeah.
person
A
who's
lot of
voted
those
and
properties
give them a
are
key to a gate?
meant for conservation, so
Yeah,
you
a lot of those
wouldn't be
properties.
able.
Yeah.
So you're getting
Right.
tax breaks and everything for keeping it natural.
Right.
So to pave it or take out the trees and put up a
Put a bunch of
fence,
stuff in it
Yeah,
that
I'm
wouldn't
sure
work.
that-
As far as aesthetics and eyesore, 100 houses or so, you know, circle of 100 houses from my house, there's probably a dozen or more boats and trailers, and none of them are in the top 5 worst eyesores in the community.
Oh, right. Not
The ones with the boats are the nice
Right.
ones.
Go down Chestnut Drive from Greater Boulevard from here, make a left on Chestnut. And that's county maintained part of Chestnut. Make a left and look on your right. I think it's the first or second house on the right. Take a look at that. And that was reported to the county, and the county made them bring in a dumpster, and because their first excuse was, well, we just moved, we're getting stuff sorted out. Okay, gave them some time. They didn't really clean it up very well. County made them bring in a dumpster and clear a good bit of it out. Okay, more. I mean, there it is. There's a line of trees at the street, so that helps cover it some. But try living next to that, or across the street from it.
Another thought I had as I was walking over here this morning, and I was noticing that people dump a lot of landscaping leaves. I was commenting to my husband that someone had taken a tree that was still in a plastic bucket and tossed it across the way from their house.
In the bucket?
Yeah. I'm just like, I don't know. I guess I'm just, but I do know that greens cost money to take them to the dump, right?
It does.
So I know we sometimes at times put out, we have like a trash day.
Yes.
Should we maybe have a greens day or sometimes where, maybe would that help? I don't know. You know where I'm talking about. Yeah, it's right by Mimosa, right? The Mimosa house. And right before I get to Mimosa, I'm looking, I'm thinking, who would just dump the whole bucket with a dead tree in it into somebody's garden? I mean, I know people do leaves all the time, I see it, we put our leaves in our woods too, but I don't know. Maybe it's because it costs money to take it away, I don't know.
It's also.
No, it's the 5 seconds to take the bucket off. They don't have time. It's time. It's time.
It's so
Well, I
hard
think
to
it's
take
5
the
seconds.
leaves and the stuff to the dump, because most
Yeah.
people don't have a trailer or a truck.
Right.
I don't know, but having just moved from Montgomery County, I do miss being able to
Right,
go to our dump
right.
and you can do yard waste for free.
Right.
I took it
Pick it
here
up.
and I paid, I'm like, I have to pay?
Right, that to me
For
was
my
kind of
branches?
crazy. I'm a
They'll pick it
Montgomery
up.
County full-time resident too.
Well,
so-
and we
Come vacuum it up.
Yeah, right, they can
Right,
pick it up.
yeah.
I'm like,
Or you could mulch it, but you do the bags, right? You do the big paper bags and you put it in there if you want. I mean, mulching it is good as well.
Yeah, but you're not allowed to
But
put
there's a
paper
lot of
bags
other stuff too.
at the transfer
Oh,
station.
you can't?
Well, it says to not do it.
Yeah.
So
I
I put
guess
it
that's
in.
what I thought we had.
I put it in a garbage
Or
bag.
you put trash on top of it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess it's just a thought, as I was walking,
Right.
thinking, we do pick up trash. I wonder if we should on occasion, or maybe there's bigger times, like leaf time or something.
Well, we
that
pick
we
up
could-
trash, but it's private. It's
Yeah.
not a county pickup like.
It's
Like
not.
branches, fallen
That's different.
logs,
That's
that kind
different.
of stuff.
So you can contract with Evergreen, or there's a couple of different vendors.
Yeah, it's just
But
a
we don't
thought.
have-
I don't know if it'll help at all.
It's,
but-
that's not, Montgomery County, it's part of your tax.
Right,
You do that.
Yeah.
exactly,
That's not-
yeah. Right.
Something we can do.
So Rita, the sign that was put up on that one lot for no dumping into the
Did that help?
Do you think that helped, that having that?
Oh, and I was gonna mention that, thanks. We have put a couple signs in the community, no dumping, even if it is biodegradable. Do people pay attention to those signs? And not probably any more than they do to the speed limit sign, or no parking sign, or what have
I
you.
mean, we're not full-time yet,
Uh-huh.
and these guys we're all on
Just
our
became
way.
full-time.
Now they became, but our neighbors used to take the leaves and
Put them on your.
dump
Everybody
them
dumps
on
it
ours.
on your
Yeah.
lot. You have a lot and everybody dumps crap on your
Yeah.
lot.
Well,
Yeah,
and I
we
sent
had
an email
dumping
out, I
in
don't know if people here read it or not, but I sent an email saying, because somebody came in and told me that, is there anything we can do about it? So I sent an email, so I did. Please don't put them in the road, which some people do, and please don't put them on the vacant lots because of the fire, it's fodder for fire. And if you own your own lot, that's different, but don't take it off, put it on somebody else's property. And most people are really nice, but one man responded and said, "Who made you arbiter?" Oh. Yeah, I don't know, buddy.
Well, opened up a can of worms, didn't I?
Yeah.
I'm
But
sorry.
no, but it was important.
Yeah, it can be a significant problem if your next door neighbor, but if you have a waterfront property, $1 million property, and you have, Fred Sanford and Sons next to you or whatever. No, that's using an example that would devalue your property significantly, and that's, we all are affected by that.
But that's true anywhere, and we can have
I
a
know.
dilapidated house that doesn't have to be trash, it can be something that stands up.
It's an issue, that's why I mentioned whether it be a feasible to have a little committee or study. Nothing's gonna happen soon, but in the future, this might become more, egregious, I use that word.
Well, like Rhea said, then it's a matter of being able to enforce it.
Right.
We don't really have that.
Well, that's, enforcement, you would have to, again, amend the covenants and put in some sort of list of penalties, giving the board the authority to enforce it. That means the board has to take people to court, and just because you go to court and you have the authority doesn't mean you're gonna win every case. You're really opening up a wonderful can of worms.
Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. It's just, it occurs to me all the time because, where you draw the line, it's the signage on work vans, the company that has their employees park their work van, they're getting free advertising. Oh, you can take your van home, you don't have to park at that place of business. If you work for a heating, air conditioning company, there's several here with very colorful trucks. You can imagine those parked in driveways,
We see who's trying.
Those three big puppy paws,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
shampoo trucks on your way here on,
I'll say this too, people complain about HOAs because of these kinds of restrictions and architectural requirements and so and so on. My kids moved out of Leonard's Grant into Old Clinton and bought a house built in 1937. They did not want an HOA.
Yeah.
It's a nice community, big brick houses, except they're a little open. Anyway, we're not that kind of an
Yeah.
HOA,
Yeah.
and I think people like that
And
also.
bought the home for that reason.
Exactly,
Yeah.
they don't want all these restrictions, and I understand your point. I'm not bothered so much by the puppy paws and so on.
Yeah,
Good for her, she's got a great
right.
business going
That's
there.
what I think.
Yeah, but, the trashy, the places that are just trashed, I wouldn't want to live next to that. I don't like driving by it. There's a woman that owns that beautiful stone house at the end of Overlook before it curves back onto Beretta on the left. And I don't know if it's her or maybe her neighbor asked about it. What about this house? The one with the cardboard. I'm like, that's probably when I reported it to the county and they said, oh, you can't do it.
My wife moved out of the townhome community. She had been cited for, she didn't move because of that, she moved because she moved me. But she had been cited for putting a trellis in her front yard garden to have a vine grow
That's an
up.
architectural.
And got cited for
Central violation.
putting up a laundry, a clothesline behind her stockade fence that somebody from an upper window could see down into the yard and complain about.
Yeah.
HOAs go both ways.
They do.
Yeah.
And I don't think people have ever complained about us for that reason. I mean, complain about us, but not for that reason.
Oh, so point to the house down the street from you,
Well,
though, that needs a gallon of gasoline and a match. I didn't say that all out, did I?
Anyway.
Any other, I think that was public comment, right?
I don't want to prolong this. Firstly, thank you very much indeed for all you do. I'm relatively new to the area. Met Rhea a couple of years ago. I'm just going to return very quickly to the assessments piece. I know, I can understand, as Rhea said, it could be a little contentious for people who might not be expecting the additional cost. Is there a list of items that you can identify, such as potential increase in road coverage with salt and so forth, that we can potentially get out to the community and say, these are beyond the budget, and we are expecting? You highlighted at the start very clearly the additional cost of road work and so forth. I'm not talking about items that are budgeted. I'm talking about items that we potentially recognize as being additional costs that might require an assessment, and therefore, on the premise that bad news doesn't get better with time, if we get out in front of it and say the expectation for the next 12 months is it's going to be a hard winter, probably going to take a toll of the roads, it's going to require extra salt, extra snow coverage, and it's probably going to require an extra assessment. And then it doesn't come as a shock, even if people, as you said, Rhea, don't read the minutes. I'm just throwing it out there. We live in a community in Alexandria, and it's kind of like this, where it's loosey-goosey, which is great. But they did this 2 years ago. They were expecting something, but it was outside of the normal budget. And everybody just said, thanks, that's great, good heads up. And it didn't become a problem when the assessment was made. I'm just going to throw it out there.
Well, I would say, like Mike pointed out, I think, a special assessment is one thing, but, if the fees have to increase somewhat substantially, perhaps that could be put out to say, we're hoping that this is a temporary thing until we can get our buffer back. Little buffer, and then perhaps we can look at reducing in a future time, not the covenant fee, because that adjusts each year to CPI, but that mandatory assessment. Maybe we could say, we're hoping that in 2 years we'll have our buffer back, the jetty's done, the beach thing and so on. I know we budgeted for that, but still it ate into our carryover. So maybe we could put it out like that and say, we're hoping this is temporary, not a special assessment as such.
I think I would prefer having it part of the regular budget process. If we have to increase it for a year or two, fine, and then we reduce it, rather than going out and trying to get people to cough up an extra assessment or something. Because we're going to be accused of nickel and diming, and what is it? What kind of budget are these guys running? They can't even pick up an extra 10,000. What's the
Right. Plus, I file claims, and I put a little blurb in the newsletter, if you're behind in your assessment or you've had a claim filed, please call me, don't ignore it. Because we can take payments or what have you. I've got a man that's paying $100 a month until he's paid off. He always like talking, file a claim on him, on and on. But I can't imagine some of these people that are already in arrears, and now we're going to say, oh, by the way, we need $1,000 from each year. I mean, I can't, this is a mixed community. There's a lot of wealth in this community, there's a lot of middle-income people, and there's a lot of people that are living on the edge a little bit, on a very, very fixed income. And I just don't think telling every individual this is what you're gonna owe this year as an assessment, it will work. I really don't. But I like the idea of saying, maybe in 2 years, we can bring it back down once we've rebuilt that buffer.
Just one more question, Marie, do covenants limit what the percentage increase can be each year?
So, you want me to respond? I'm sorry, I feel like I'm talking to you. So the covenants, if you read them, say $10 per year, as long as there are roads to maintain. So in the past, when they tried to change the covenants, that's what they were trying to change, because $10 is nothing. And that's why previous boards went for the special tax district, I think in the 90s, to be able to maintain the roads. So, but then we had an attorney a number of years, 2013 I think is when we started, not Tom Hodges, doesn't matter, he's an HOA attorney. And he said, well, here it is, it's in your covenants. Because what the covenant actually says is $10 per year or a like amount, as long as there are roads to maintain. He said what that tells me is that a like amount, $10 in 1947, is in 2014 when we increased it, it was $98. And then it's gone up a couple of dollars since, and now it's $133. Every January, the CPI comes out for the previous year, 2024, or 2025, in January I'll look at it, and I'll put $10, 1947 or 8, not sure which, what is it worth now? And I think it's going to be around 140. So that doesn't go up substantially. And I feel like maybe that should be left alone and just let it plod along like it does, and instead hit mandatory assessment.
The special tax district, as annoying as it is, why do we have to pay for our roads when not everybody has to? But is beautiful because it removes all the things you complained about, people in arrears. It's not our problem.
Right, the county collects it for us.
I mean, it really is, it just disappears into your tax bill.
Yes.
Well, the special tax district has another advantage, as long as we have that, we're eligible for FEMA and FEMA.
That's, yeah, there's,
And that could be very valuable for that purpose.
there are some very real hidden benefits that you
There
really
really
don't
are.
want to lose the STD. You lose that, you lose FEMA coverage and there's other.
And then the railroad equivalent.
Yeah,
with the
there's,
railroad
you
equivalent.
don't want to lose that.
A few years ago, there was a large period of time with a lot of snow. I don't remember, like 40, 50 inches in that 3 or 4 day period. I'm exaggerating, but a fair amount of snow. So, yeah,
60 inches
so they
in 1
declared
year.
a snow emergency, the county did, so we got to be part of that. And they reimbursed 80% of our snow removal costs that year. I mean, that's a really good benefit of that special tax district. And so, speaking of that, and when we will be going through that, I would encourage all of you, if you're in favor, hopefully, to come to the public hearing when it happens. Because the reason that we were able, that night of the public hearing, and in my memory it hadn't happened like this, the board, the commissioners made a motion to approve it that night. And there was one board member that said no, he doesn't like special tax districts, but whatever. So anyway, and it was because people stood up and
It was
spoke.
residents, not just us.
That's what I mean, residents.
Residents that
Spoke
were.
up in favor of the
Talking
board,
about how well it
and
was
the job that
managed.
it's doing, and so on. And so I would really encourage people to do that.
And there's some other adjoining communities that don't have a good reputation for
Yeah.
governance.
Yeah, well, their public hearing for CRE was quite contentious.
Yeah.
They had to go back to the drawing board, and I think it was approved, but they had to start over, because people were so upset at that public hearing, for whatever reason. I watched a little bit of it online, but definitely encourage you, and I would hope you would support it for all the reasons we talked about.
And the other benefit of our maintaining most of our roads, which we have, rather than having the county do it, we're first in line. We take care of things right away. Because we're not a thoroughfare to anywhere else, so we wouldn't be first to be taken care of.
I think when it would come to public maintenance like that, we'd be a negative number. Because we don't, the roads don't go anywhere.
Yeah,
Right.
It's
this
just,
is the value of living.
and their whole perspective is, okay, it doesn't go through, it doesn't join things, and how many people live there? We'll get to that.
There've been times when some residents have tried to have us turn the roads over to the county, but it's never passed.
Remember, actually, the use of the word road for what we have is a misnomer. We have driveways.
That's
I'm
what public
serious.
works, that's what Calvert County Public Works.
We have
Director-
driveways. They don't meet any county or state requirement for a road.
That's true. You have to give us a third of what's in your front yard.
Yeah, you want us to have roads, county roads, we're gonna take your yard.
Awesome.
Well, depending on exactly what street you live on, but we're gonna end up taking some of your front yard.
So be careful what you wish for.
And there's no base, there's no, these are driveways.
Yeah.
They're good driveways.
They're probably better than the driveway that actually goes from the driveway to your house. That little piece of driveway, that's not as good as these driveways. Anyway, any other public comment?
Yeah, this is Tony. This is probably old business spilling over into today's business. The whole beach management problem, that was resolved and a lot of money was spent for the beach maintenance and so forth. Now that we're a year on beyond that, is that now considered a success? Was that money well spent? Or is there a little unfinished business or loose ends that you still have to throw money at?
Well, Mike and Rhea, don't you enter to see, because you always lose beach and you gain beach because of the tides and storms and such, but I think overall it's been a us.
Yeah.
Don't you say? They measure.
Seems to stabilize the beach.
Seems to be a
Oh,
success.
We'll give a different perspective.
Huh?
Yes. It's affected, the Drum Point Pond, or Drum Point Lake, the tidal pond. So where we would have, where that was always, there's like a canal that goes from the tidal pond into the bay, open and closed all year long, just on its own. There's, people have tried to control it, but it does its own thing.
That's called
I would
breaching.
say, yeah, I would say since that jetty went in, we have been primarily closed. Last year, I think we opened it one time, and we had a algae bloom this year. as a
Twice,
result.
actually.
2 algae blooms with a huge fish kill. And I think it's because it's not open.
The sand has really built up on the
Yeah,
town.
so the sand has now come there, and it's not it's affected where the canal came out. So, and it's affected that piece of water.
Yeah. We lost our fish, not a single fish to
Big-
catch in
big
the whole
Fish
summer.
kill in August.
Well,
I'm
two
not
of them, we had
sure
two of them.
how we can know if it was because of the jetty.
I'm not sure, because they.
Because you can see the sand build up. I mean, there's like a
And
mound
it's
of
never, I
sand.
mean, we've had these houses since 1960.
No.
We could just see it over those years, right? So basically, over the last 65 years, since we were probably 5 years old, we know what that canal has been open and closed numerous times a month, a week, opens, closes. In this last year, it opened once.
The coastal
With
flood
this last
opened it.
coastal, with this last really high water event opened it. But as a result, and in that time, we've had, it wasn't an algae bloom, it was a grass event where this grass grew that was probably about 30 years ago,
It was 70s.
70. But since then, I've never seen an algae bloom. And, I mean, that water was
And I've talked to
electric green,
DNR myself,
electric green.
and they said that definitely could have been a cause, and they're suggesting aeration.
I know you had emailed me
Yeah.
about that, so.
But it's real, like,
It
it's
is
like,
real,
if the
yeah.
change is real.
That affected, yeah. I mean, it's amazing because the birds are.
I walk
just-
down almost every day, but I'm gonna actually go right after to
It
check
actually
that.
looks like it may have gone over. I came that way,
Yeah.
and that it may have, at high tide might have come over, it looks like. But
I think
it's,
the
yeah.
board talked about aeration. based
So what
on-
is aeration? What would that
Well,
look
there's
like?
like pumps and so on that we put in.
Well, they can be, there's a couple, you've been looking into it, yeah.
You can actually do it with solar panels that power the ponds. And if you look at a lot of people, maybe they have a private pond with the fountain. You don't have to do that. They actually have aeration that goes underneath and bubbles. So it doesn't change the appearance of the lake, but it's putting oxygen back in.
Do you have any idea what the cost is on something like that? I didn't know it
We
came down with
didn't
solar.
get to the part of inviting somebody out yet. So, but we've actually done some research online.
If you could continue doing that, because I think the board's thought was how do we get power out into the
Solar.
middle of.
It's
so
a solar system.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that. So that could be something.
There are business, a couple of
we could
big
invest in.
companies that do focus on this.
Okay, I didn't know that.
The other thing that I kind of thought after this happened was maybe it would be an interesting, someone it's not DNR, it's
Well, it's
National-
Department of Environment.
Maybe
Maryland
to come out and
Department.
just speak to homeowners, maybe we have I know the club, when we do some talks, we get special speakers come and speak, and maybe we can gather a little interest to understand from a sustainability perspective, from an environmental perspective, what we do on our lawns, maybe it's native, gardens, maybe there's a lot of different things that we could have someone speak to a little bit. And part of it was all the rain we had, I think, in July and August kind of caused the runoff, is what they were proposing, what they were thinking
Well, I mean,
possibly.
That's always a contributor in stormwater management, people using fertilizers, not having native plants, all that kind of stuff. But the fact remains, the lake's not getting oxygen. I
So
mean,
if I were to Google just solar aeration of lakes, I would find companies.
Yeah.
All right.
There's like things
Okay.
homeowners can do, around your little area, but if you go to like apartment buildings and have these drainage
Yeah.
ponds, you'll see those big
Yes.
fountains, that's
Yes.
that, but
That's
you're saying,
one
that's
option,
just
but
one
you can
kind.
keep the look of the lake the way it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
They do have the bubbling system that goes underneath. You don't have to see the fountain.
Right. I think it would just depend on the cost.
Yeah,
I mean, like.
but it's a
everything,
real
it
impact.
depends on the
I
cost.
mean, we've seen it since, I mean,
So the
you
beach
know,
is there, right? The beach, the
Oh, yes.
public beach is definitely
it
improved.
accomplished that.
That's right, it did, but I think it had secondary effects.
Always.
Well, but that anyway, did we ever talk about dredging it or something? I thought we talked about it. We can't. Just so we can say.
Off the record, people manually will
property.
do it.
Oh, it's club property.
Yeah, but it just goes right back. I mean, if you, anybody walks there, you saw it was like it was the color of your shoes
Yeah.
was what we were dealing with.
And the next
The
day,
inlet was that
just
color.
thousands of dead fish just floated right up to the top.
Oh, yeah.
Thousands. I mean, the birds loved it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The crabs loved it.
yeah.
Well, I wonder if the club would be willing to help with them.
Well, everybody's going, not our fault, not our
Yeah,
problem.
Yeah, so DNR,
But
we
still,
can't.
it's maybe not your
They say we
fault, but
can't
it's.
do it.
Can't
We
dredge
can't
or
change-
anything.
change.
But the other, there is gonna be marine biologists speak at this
The next
winter
meeting,
meeting,
at the
yes,
January one?
Yeah.
You weren't
for the
listening.
club.
Because we did bring it up at the club too.
We've been bringing it up since,
Because it's definitely, there's an impact.
yeah.
I would say, so let's hypothetically say that the jetty cost it. You could be right, I don't know.
We don't
So
know,
let's
but
say
there's
it did.
definitely a relationship.
I think, rather than us in the pub saying, well, they did it, maybe it is something that could be discussed, and if it is feasible, cost-wise, maybe it could be something that could be split. I don't know. I mean, but I think the board takes it seriously.
Yeah.
It's
First
just-
key question is what's the price? Because if it's
Yeah,
$300,
that is the
no-brainer.
question.
Right, right.
And if it's 300,000, it's also a no-brainer.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's true. I mean, I think the club and the community benefit
Should
from
be,
the
yeah,
lake. I mean, I was
absolutely.
just looking at, now there's that new, this is where you can put out your kayak into the lake, so we have people come crab, we have people always kayaking, we have people in the
Fishing,
lake,
there was
fishing.
no fishing. I mean, you were testing not one fish also.
But there'll be people that live elsewhere, and they'll say, well, why should I have to pay for that?
Right.
I don't even see, I never,
Right.
Well, and maybe, is it possible we could get a grant, is it an ecological issue? Maybe we could get a grant for this.
Right, that's actually a
That's an
good
interesting
point, that's a good
the
point.
club, I think, would have an
Solar.
easier chance of that because of your
I think they stand a chance for a grant.
designation as a 501(c)(3).
No,
We're,
you could try.
I think we're a 3 and we are not eligible, or we're a 4 and not eligible, but you
Okay.
guys are a 3.
Well, I will say the thing, when I talked to a particular individual, but I don't have her name, unfortunately, she said the question at hand is now, does the lake need to be reclassified and is no longer a tidal lake? Because it hasn't been opening. And apparently, rules for tidal lakes are this, and rules for non-tidal lakes are that. And so what you do is dependent upon, now for 2 years, it hasn't been opening, this year was particularly bad.
Well, if you could get us information and names,
Yeah.
MDE or wherever,
It's hard.
people have to look at this.
I'll pass it on to Rhea, whatever you have, whatever you.
Yeah, no, I have, she, we've communicated.
So, but maybe, could you suggested having a speaker?
Yeah, maybe.
But
I mean, maybe-
again, the difficulty,
Right.
I think a lot of you perhaps are waterfront owners, obviously, the way you're talking. So the difficulty is getting everybody here that would be able to pay it. Let's say it's too expensive for the association and club to do it, it's $300,000 or something ridiculous. But, to encourage waterfront owners to put that aeration device at the end of their dock or what have you. I assume it's much less expensive to do one little area than,
It's tough, our lake is not that big,
How do
and
you
there's a
get
bunch of
them-
Airbnbs. And part of it is club property, the driveway.
Right.
So, I mean, a dozen homes at best?
Right,
maybe?
but I'm thinking of the other lakes as well, not just that.
Yeah.
All of them. We have Fish Kills and Lake Charming.
Oh, do they-
It's not tidal, I don't think strictly, but yet it is, because there's an equalizer pipe under the causeway.
Yeah.
So I don't know if
It's
it's
not
designated
reason.
tidal. But anyway, let's say it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, there've been fish kills in there as well. I mean, it's an issue.
I don't think it killed snakeheads.
Pick it up and walk away.
Yeah,